All right, welcome to another episode of the Conquer Cast. I'm super excited today to have our longest standing employee of Mountain Ops here with us, Cheryle Mounteer. She's been my executive assistant. She is, what she's most known for is Director of Operation Conquer Hunger, which if you don't know anything about that, you've been hiding under a rock, but you need to know about it and what's been going on there. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. But you've been here for over 9 years, 9.5 years now.
Yeah.
The company's been in existence for 10 years. You didn't necessarily start out as my assistant or director of Operation Conquer Hunger, because when you started, Conquer Hunger wasn't branded that way. It was just me and my wife, my family, we were making these small donations to a group in Malawi, Africa. And then over, maybe a couple years into your stay at Mountain Ops, is that when we kind of termed it Mountain Ops Operation Conquer Hunger, and it took flight. Since it didn't start there, tell us where did it start? How did you get involved in Mountain Ops, and why have you stuck around so long?
So it started, I think, with a post. So you and I and our families have been long-term friends, long time.
Cheryl's, she just lives, a few streets over from me. So
yeah. And so we'd known each other before, and our families had traveled together.
To Lake Powell, which we love.
Yes, yeah. And I think that you probably did a social media post and just said, hey, gosh, if anybody has got some extra time, I'm opening a company and could use a little bit of help. At the time I was working for an orthodontist. It really enjoyed working there and worked there part-time. And so you were a friend and you needed a little bit of help. And
I think that post said 2 weeks, we need some help for a couple weeks, something like that.
Yeah. So I reached out to you and said, hey, my kids are all in school. I'd be happy to come step in and help. At that point, it was the location in North Salt Lake, working out of a car dealership, just the very, very beginnings of this tremendous company. And so I kind of stepped in the warehouse. And
what did that look like at the time? So it was a used car lot.
Yes.
What did our office space, what did the warehouse look like?
In a mechanics bay in the basement. And it was a big area. And we were receiving in the products, and they needed to be labeled. And so we were labeling them, and we were shipping them, fulfilling orders. I remember there being just pallets on the floor, and on top of the pallets would be boxes, and in those boxes were our offerings as far as gear, and that gear was probably 4 or 5 different T-shirts. Mm-hmm. That was the beginning. It was very, very humble beginnings, and I remember them well. I remember the time that we were able to purchase the pallet jack. Yeah. We still have, and we still...
Do we have that same pallet jack?
We certainly do. It has hauled lots of pallets over the years. But I remember celebrating and feeling like this is going to be so good. We're going to be able to move all of this heavy product, all of this gear using this pallet jack. And so now that pallet jack hauls all of the food for Conquer Hunger. So
wow. That's an awesome visual right there.
Yeah. Those were the beginnings. And at the time, I remember just being grateful to kind of see kind of the backside of a startup company and the amount of work and dedication. I remember, you and several others, the designers and so forth, you guys would work all day long, and then you would come after 5 o'clock down into the warehouse, and you would fulfill orders that, we had worked kind of all day long doing that, but it was growing. It was growing quickly, but there was such a level of dedication. Back then, I didn't know what it would turn into, but there was something really unique, really special about it, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it. So after
what was it? What was the unique and the special? Do you feel like now after 9.5 years or so, looking back?
I don't know that I would be really great at selling windshield wipers or being a part of a windshield wiper company. Certainly, they make a car safer, but the products that we are selling and creating are something that we take inside of us. We're literally inviting our customers to try this, see what it does to you, see if it doesn't make you a healthier, happier individual because you're able to live a fuller life. It's so meaningful. It can be so meaningful. We've seen the changes in the past 10 years to our customers. to ourselves, to our family members. That's where it began. It's the products, it's being able to wear cool gear, but it's also the culture that is here at Mountain Ops. And I saw the beginning of something really tremendous. And so after those couple of weeks that I think turned into maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I remember you calling me into your office and just saying, "Hey, gosh, you've really helped kind of get us through a really kind of a rough patch." Rough meaning we had so many orders. And you said, you can be done if I know you've already got a job that you really enjoy. You can be done. And I said, "Okay, all right, thank you." And I went home and I just had a pit in my stomach that night. And I remember talking to my husband and saying, "I don't want to be done. This company is just growing." And I came back to you the next day and said to you, "If there's a spot available for me, I'd like to apply." And if I remember correctly, you said to me, "There's 3 positions." And we kind of went over what those looked like. And you said, "You can choose the position that you want." And from that moment forward, I never looked back. I continued working for the orthodontist, but my heart was here. My heart was with Mountain Ops. And so it went from, bookkeeping, doing all the ordering, payroll, HR. I mean, you name it.
Everything. Yeah. I remember sitting down and you and I was working on product development at the time, making sure we had products. You were helping me there, and you were supply chain. You were making all the orders, making sure everything was coming in, and there was like a hyper amount, this volume of orders that was just skyrocketing coming through. I think we were doing a giveaway with the Diesel brothers at the time, and that really helped bring some attention to the brand, and just the community was really resonating with things and just taking off full steam. And so, yeah, HR, bookkeeping, supply chain, product development, like, wow. Crash course in a lot of different things, right?
Yes, yeah. So there were.
So I said 3. There's 3 things, and then you chose one, and we said take all 3.
There was a lot, but I was grateful. I was grateful for the trust that you had in me as a friend, and then as an employee and as a team member. I've loved the years and all of the growth that has occurred here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And trust, you mentioned, is definitely one of our core values, and it's a trust. It's a core value that's prevalent in your life. You create the relationships of trust with people, and definitely with me and my family. My wife loves you. I feel like you've done so much for my family that's out of the norm. It's definitely not in the job description, but you're always there, willing to help, even around our house, or when we're at our chauffeur to the airport so often, and it's like, well, we're leaving at 6 a.m. You're like, "I'll be there," So you've jumped in and supported our family in so many amazing ways. We just can't thank you enough. So yeah, you got to see like the very beginnings, and that warehouse, the pallets on the floor. It was chaos, right? There was no real organization. I think what I loved most is right away, there was some structure, there was some order, what was that like? Because I think at the end of the 2 or 4 weeks, it was like I wasn't saying thank you, good, we'll see you later. It was like, oh, she has another job, like I guess she needs to go back to that, but how do we do this without without her? What had you done in there? Because I remember coming down and it's like, this is a different place. We were starting to work really efficiently with your support.
Oh, I'm glad that you felt that way. It really was just a matter of being able to organize and be as efficient as possible, and making sure that those orders were being fulfilled correctly. Because of the growth, there were different people, kind of just temporary people that would come in. And so just making sure that everything was very, very well marked, that somebody off the street literally could kind of walk in and it would be a very clear line as to, you start here, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and double check that order, making sure that that is correct. All right, let's go ahead and ship that. So it was just making sure that that everything was very, very well organized, and that there was systems in place, that we were making sure that the orders were being fulfilled correctly.
Yeah, no, that's great. If you've ever worked with Cheryl, especially like on an Operation Conquer Hunger, but you understand she's going to ask the detailed questions not once, but twice or 3 times, because she wants to make sure that that everything's taken care of, that T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and that we have everything, every possible thing, and it's well in advance. I think, and I love that because it keeps us moving in the right direction. So In the beginning, and then watching the growth, has there been anything about the culture that's been like the highlight for you, or that like, okay, this is why I wanted to come back after 4 weeks and say I want to be a part of this. This is what's kept you around this long. Culturally, what is it for you?
So I love being given different opportunities, and Mountain Ops. We are a team. We are a team, and I love how there has been continued opportunities for growth by having a stronger individual, a team member. There's no way of not creating a stronger team. So Mountain Ops is constantly, whether it's book groups or different challenges or, for example, a hunt. I got to experience a hunt. By making me a stronger individual, we have a stronger company.
Yeah.
And so I've seen that time and time and time again. And for those who are, for whatever, sickness, boy, we support. And for those who are struggling, again, like, let's support them. Let's build them up. Let's not drag them down. Let's build them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any trials you saw the company go through in the beginning stages that you're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And how did we do it? A lot of it was growth at the time. Like, we were experiencing some hyper growth, and that's, as a young team, like, whoa, like, we hoped for this, we wanted this, we worked for it, but didn't expect this, But anything that you can remember where it was like, this was a hard time and this is how we made it through?
Yeah, actually, there is one time, and it will probably make me emotional. It was in the early days, and we were doing another big truck for a buck. And we had our supplements, but we certainly wanted gear. We wanted people to be wearing our very cool logo all over them. We wanted hats and T-shirts. And I remember the company that was doing all of our gear for us. They were going to need to bring on an entire another shift due to the huge order that we were about to place. We had, I believe, been given a go ahead and place that PO. And then literally right before we were launching this enormous marketing piece, they came back to you and said, I'm really sorry, we're not going to be able to do this. And at the time, it was very, very important to us to kind of have those gear pieces. And I remember the feeling in the company of that day was just, what on earth are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And there were wait times, there were turn times that we would then experience if we needed to go elsewhere. I remember one of the offices, kind of all of you guys were in one office and kind of brainstorming and trying to figure out, who do we know? What can we do? How can we make this work? And one of the individuals came out of the office. It was Joel Pilcher. He came out, and I was standing in the hall, and I didn't know Joel well at that point. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I've heard what's going on. I understand the issue that we're facing. And I said, I know this might seem weird, but I said, have you considered praying? And he said, yeah, it's the first thing we did. I was just taken back. Prayer in business? What? Like, recognizing God in business? It seemed so foreign, but it seemed so right. That was a moment in time I will never forget. And that has been, it's our number one core value, recognizing God. And we pray as a team. There's a lot of us that are in the same religious beliefs. There are equal numbers that aren't, and it doesn't matter how we pray. It doesn't matter. We will pray together.
Yeah. How is that? Like, okay, wow, this is happening. It's you. Like, it's part of your life, but maybe not in the workplace. Now, over the last 9.5 years, how has God played a role or a hand in the work you've done here?
Oh, you've written a book. You've written the Conquer Code. I could write a book, the miracles behind Mountain Ops. Many of them come with Operation Conquer Hunger. There have been so many times that, especially through the COVID years, that the supply chains for food. I mean, we went to the stores and they were empty. They were totally empty. And certainly through 2020, there just was not food available. There just was not. In December of 2020, I was finally given the go-ahead from Walmart to come and to go ahead and place an order. And there was one pallet of food. Now, before 2020, I was working with semis full of food, which we continue to do now, once again. But at that point, I could get one pallet of food. I borrowed your truck. I drove down to Walmart in Layton, and I picked up one pallet of food. And that was such a valuable lesson as I drove back up here to Fruit Heights. And I thought, I've only got one pallet. But we'll make it into pantry packs. And this will be the first opportunity that we have since COVID to be able to give back to the kids that, like, more than ever needed some of that food. So there have been time and time again when it came to Conquer Hunger. Lots of times I've shared those with you. Yeah. Many times I haven't. And I just know that if a door closes, I just keep looking, and I'll find that window, I'll find another door, I'll find another way.
Yeah. Cheryl's in relentless pursuit to make sure that everything goes well and goes as planned, and that those who need things most get what we've planned to do. And there's been a lot of those. It sounds like some that you haven't told me about, but I understand that. Like, there's so many where, the week before it's like, this item's not coming in, or this isn't working out this way. And I have found in life, and I've shared this on this podcast before, but whenever you're in pursuit of something good, there is an adversarial effect that is in play. And it's been that way from day one at Mountain Ops, because look at the work we're doing. We are selling supplements that bless people's lives, and that's how we drive revenue to bless so many lives. But we're unlike any other supplement brand out there. We are on a mission to improve lives, and that comes in the way of spiritual, physical, mental, social. Putting food in a child's belly is inspiring them. It's removing distraction. It's doing all these things to help them connect in those realms of life. And there's an adversary that doesn't want that to take place.
Oh, he's working really hard.
And he knows where to spend his time, right? But you've never backed down. The team's never backed down. It's like we push through, and then the door opens. And what door you never knew even existed, sometimes it opens, and there's the miracle, there's the need that we had. And sometimes it's down to the wire. And I think we've learned to, like, let God prevail on this. Like, we'll do our part. We'll push through. We'll make the calls. You'll make the calls. You make a lot more calls than I do. You'll run to this store. You'll load up this pallet of food, and then I honestly can't think of an event that didn't, like, maybe we were missing this or we're missing that, or this didn't, the video didn't play or whatnot, but I can't think of an event that didn't go the way it needed to. And you just let God prevail. You're doing his work. Yes, there's an adversary at play. We know that. He knows that. We just push through. We climb that mountain. Is what this brand is all about, conquering more, right? And miracles happen. And the miracles are that much more rewarding because there was this friction, and it's like, no, we're not going to back down. We will exhaust every effort. And you've just been that way. So leading that charge has been incredible. Watching you and having us build that. There was, I don't know, for whatever reason, and this is more, you need to be talking more than me, but there was one moment, I can't remember if it was right before that first Conquer Hunger event where we did it locally, and we did it with a youth group, and we packed our first pantry packs, but we had the Bountiful Food Pantry, remind me her name, that was running it for the first little while we worked with her.
Rebecca?
No, the first a little senior, not senior, but anyways.
Talking about, I can't think of her name.
I can picture her in my mind with dark glasses, and I think the Thanksgiving prior to that, the food pantry reached out and said, we don't have enough turkeys for families for Thanksgiving, and we had just kind of started donating. We hadn't done any projects ourselves, and Mountain Ops cut a check. out of our Operation Conquer Hunger Fund. At the time, we were just sending money to Malawi, Africa to help. But we thought, okay, let's do this. I think it was 75 turkeys for 75 families here in Utah. And then we were doing our first Operation Conquer Hunger event. We were at a church, we were in a chapel, and she spoke, and she said, you guys, your youth are here to pack. I think this is how it all worked out. She was telling us about where these packs were going, and she said, talked about the same thing, like there's miracles, and there's an adversary that's trying to keep us from doing this. But she's like, we see miracle after miracle after miracle. And she said, just this last Thanksgiving, she's like, we had 75 families that needed turkeys. And there was a business around here in Utah that donated money so that we could provide us 75 turkeys. And we talked to her after, and we're like, hey, that came from Operation Conquer Hunger. But she had no idea. But that was one of the miracles. And so the reason why I bring that up is because those that are listening that have ever bought a product of Mountain Ops, you're the miracle.
Absolutely.
You're providing this. It wouldn't happen without. Like, somebody had to have this idea, and that idea came through perspective and pain in life. And then that, those people had to have a team that had a similar heart and soul. And then it's like, what's the system that we put in place? What's the mechanism? Well, we've got an incredible product that will bless people's lives. And then 75 turkeys can be provided because of the Mountain Ops community. Then we hit our first 7,000 milestone, and then I remember we did a video in the warehouse that you had organized. We talked about, I think we had said 7,000 meals donated through Operation Conquer Hunger. We're about to hit 7 million meals.
Yes, we are.
And we didn't start Operation Conquer Hunger in full effect like the first year. It was probably a couple years in. So tell me what that has looked like. I mean, you've been involved. That first event, I wasn't sure, how will this work? How will it, and you helped organize that. It was with a youth group. We had the youth pack. We printed off different colored T-shirts that said Conquer Hunger, #Conquer Hunger. We gave this assembly line blue ones, this one white, this one yellow. We had a little competition with it. And then we found there is a lot of families right here that need this, but our team can get involved hands-on instead of just writing a check. Walk us through that history of Operation Conquer Hunger, and how has that transformed over time? How has it evolved? How has it transformed your life?
Thank you. So it started with, like you mentioned, the youth group. It started very, very small in a church gym, and kind of everything kind of being just hand unloaded from truck onto tables. Back then, we didn't have big bins that were, full of food. Things were kind of just set on the tables. But it certainly, there was the recognition and the understanding and the learning that this was something that was very, very powerful and really needed right here in our community. We live, like you mentioned, we live very close to one another, and it's an affluent area. But learning and understanding that there's affluency right here, but there's also such a need.
Yeah.
And so we started small. We started very locally. Oftentimes, we would hold events right here in our own parking lot. We bought a tent, and we would invite people to come here, and we would package right here, or we'd reach out to our local schools, and we would invite the students and the student body and the officers to come and be a part of it. Other times we've invited people to go ahead and bring. We would tell them, these are the items that are needed, and you're welcome to come and donate to us, and then come spend some time and help us package these meals. But we started so small. And looking back, it still kind of surprises me. The company was so tiny. It was so small. We were able to kind of make payroll and be able to have the money to grow the company. And then we were giving.
So many companies, I think, or people would wait till the boat comes in.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's time, because we've been blessed. At the time, honestly, for me, any revenue was the greatest blessing.
Absolutely.
And in many ways, I felt like that lad in the Bible that says, I've got this, but it's something, and that felt successful to me at the time,
Absolutely.
So you're right. It started when there was hey, we don't know where this is going. We're confident that we can put something together and make things happen, but we were still very much bootstrapping.
Absolutely. And in coming to know Bountiful Food Pantry, that's our local, it's our Davis County. It's a little bit of a misnomer because it does cover all of Davis County, but Bountiful Food Pantry had a list of waiting schools that they were not able to be able to guarantee pantry packs for them. And as we got just a little bit bigger, one by one, those schools were then be able to be taken off of that waiting list.
Yeah.
And we were then able to say to them, as we continually were donating, take the schools off. We're here. We know the need, and we're going to take care of that need. That was such a sweet time to be able to remove those schools off of the waiting list. And then certainly we've just continued to get bigger and to get stronger. The events, we now go to the Hunt Expo here, the big, huge that is held every February.
We've done 3 of those now, right? Is it 4 maybe?
I think there's been 4. I think there's been 4, and
typically packing how many meals at an event like that?
Oh gosh, those are between 50 and 60,000 meals.
In about an hour and a half, packed with
200
to 300 people, right?
Absolutely, and there's such an energy in any of the rooms that we're doing. But
it's kind of hard to explain unless you've been there. Like, we can share all we want, but if there's an opportunity, get to one of these. It's like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was another kind of step in this journey that we were on, is we began going and holding bigger events, and then just within the past year, we've been invited to go nationally. We were invited by Mid-States. It's a big buying group, and we took the team to South Carolina.
That was our first out of state, right?
It was
on an island, Kiowa Island.
Kiowa, yeah. They don't allow box trucks on that island on a weekend. And we needed box trucks on that island on a weekend. And so we had to go to their city council meeting.
I don't know if I knew that part of the story.
Yeah, we had to petition their
city council
to be able to allow us to have box trucks,
Where...
not only on the island, but overnight on the island. So yeah, there's lots of details that went into that, but realizing that was something that we could do, that we could move beyond our own Davis County, our own area right here around our headquarters, and that we could take Operation Conquer Hunger nationally. That was a very, very pivotal moment, deciding that, let's bless the lives across this nation. Let's go to the amazing dealers that sell our products. And so this year, gosh, we have been up to Montana twice. We've been to Idaho.
Tell us who have we been with up there?
Oh, we've been to... Our first event up in Bozeman was with Mountain Tough.
Yeah.
They are a CrossFit gym that we aligned just beautifully with, and that was our second event there. They hold a big Tough Fest in June, and so we were able to go and pack with them, and that was a wonderful event, day-long event there. And then we went back up to Bozeman a couple of weeks later, and we're there with the Murdoch's team, a fabulous, fabulous vendor of ours. And so
and Murdoch's, just so people are aware, they retail our product in their stores. They funded that event. We showed up with the food, and we showed up with our team to hold the event, but they had around 300 people there. The year prior, when we were in Kiowa Island, they experienced the event. It was so powerful for them, which most people come away feeling that, and they had the means to come up and say at the end of that event, here's $35,000, I think it was. Could you buy food with it and bring it to Bozeman? And so it's not every day that we see that happen. We have had some random donations show up from people that have just been at an event or heard the story, and they're like, hey, we need to support this. But the ownership there was incredible in saying, hey, we want you to come, but we also want to help fund this. So
absolutely, yes, that's exactly what happened. And then we actually we had that just tremendous event there, and then we drove right to Caldwell, Idaho, a day later, and did an event for D&B, a dealer of ours that sells our products. And so kind of back-to-back events, and they were just tremendous. The mayor of Caldwell was there, and he just said, we've never had anything like this here. Please come back. Please come back. And he said, next time it won't just be, kind of the D&B community. He says, I want to invite our entire community to come and see what you are doing.
We did. Yeah, it's so powerful. We did up in Idaho Falls Cow Ranch with their leadership, 150 of their leadership team. And it feels like every time we do these as well, like when the box trucks arrived at the food pantry with the food, a lot of times we think of kids, or we think of young parents with kids, that there were senior citizens lined up waiting for the food to show up because it was empty. And we were bringing this replenishment, and probably 40, 50,000 meals I think we were bringing. And to see these senior citizens that needed it was kind of an eye-opener and kind of a new perspective for us, because we always kind of picture, at least for me, these children getting it at school, and the parents, the weight that we, lift off their shoulders by doing that. But there's a lot of need from all ages, all demographics.
Absolutely. I don't know how long they had waited. I have no idea how long they had waited in line. But as one of our team members drove that box truck up, he said he will never forget what he saw. And that was senior citizens. He said they were grandparents waiting in that line, waiting for the food to arrive so that they could take it home. So that was, as he stood and shared that, tears fell down his face, because he said, I never expected that ever. And from that point forward, I think he better understood why we conquer hunger and why we've chosen that.
It's awesome. So then this summer in particular, 3 or 4 events, and then a Guinness World Record event.
Yes, we teamed up. We teamed up with New Skin International, and the Utah Jazz, and Coke Squire. There were some big names, and one of those names was MTN OPS. We were invited to come and be a part of an event. It was a 24-hour event that we started, and for 24 hours, we had invited different people to come and be a part. Our whole community was invited to come and be a part of it, and we stood shoulder to shoulder in the Salt Palace in downtown Salt Lake, and we packaged over 550,000 meals in a 24-hour period of time, and it was awesome. It was awesome to be there for lots of reasons. I love being able to package the meals, but for you, it was certainly a milestone in your life, because that's kind of where it all began, and understanding that need, and as you began giving in Malawi, Africa.
Yeah, powerful moment. Such a full circle. It's just like watching God's hand. And I would just say to people going through whatever they're going through, trust in God, let Him prevail. You never know. It might be 14 years, it might be a year, it might be 20 years. Like it'll all be good in the end, as long as you keep your trust where it needs to be. It all works out. So I don't know if that was a 6-week or an 8-week period of time, because we had an event the next week. We did a Connect and Conquer event, and we donated another 30 or 40,000 meals. Like there was probably around 750,000 meals that had been packaged. And this wasn't just checks donated. We bought the food, we did all that, but then we were 750,000 meals in a 2 month, or was it 2 months or 6 weeks? Period of time?
Yeah, no, it was probably closer to 6 weeks. Yes,
that our team and our community came together and packed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. We've never had that kind of a schedule. We've never had that many opportunities in that short a period of time. And what a blessing! What a tremendous blessing to be able to be a part of that, and to share this goodness with so many communities. And the food that we packaged with New Skin and that new world's record. It actually literally, there were the trucks left, we loaded them, and they drove across the United States to share what we had packaged, and what a blessing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was with the Convoy of Hope, I think, was the trucking, the group that was delivering them to all the food banks and pantries across the country. And the guy and his wife that were carrying all that, they were there for the ceremony with Guinness book, and they grabbed Canyon after or before or something, and said there is something unique and special about your organization, about MTN OPS, like the story, the way this has all come about, the team, the way that they're all pitching in and all hands on deck. It's like there is a unified army right here out doing good.
It started that way, it is that way, and it will continue to be that way.
Yeah, it's powerful. And at New Skin, they said, I think 14 years ago, I heard the founder say, it's a small part of what we do, but the biggest part of who we are. I tried to steal that for a long time without giving credit to where it was due, but we've used that It's a small part of what we do here at Mountain Ops, but honestly, the biggest part of who we are. You're going to hear more about it. You're going to see it everywhere. You're going to see it on the packaging. It's a differentiator that you do not find anywhere else, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was actually at our local Walmart, just a few months ago, and a gentleman was walking towards me, and I looked up and he had one of our hats on, and I smiled at him, and because I smiled, he stopped for a second. And I said, "Hey," I said, "Mountain Ops." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you know him?" And I said, "I do, yes." And he said, "Oh, they're a great company." And I said, "Yes, I agree." They said, and it's not just about their amazing supplements. He said, it's what they do in our community. It's what they do. They give back. He had no idea. I
just spilled the beans?
Nope, I sure didn't. I sure didn't. I shared with him. I said, "Yeah, I work for Mountain Ops," but I didn't say to him what my position here is and the responsibilities that I hold. But I walked away, and I could not have been more proud. I could not have been more proud. I thought, he will be probably a forever customer. He understands that we have superior supplements, that our flavors are as good as they can possibly be. But he knows about Conquer Hunger, and he knows that we're giving back.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you've done an incredible job with it. Is there a highlight, like one moment or anything like that, like over the last, since Conquer Hunger's been initiated, that's like, that moment like touched me more than any other, that moment? Or is it just like too hard to pick a moment because there's plenty? Or was there like an achievement that was like, wow, this we just did this, and
So it was one of the miracles. It was one of the miracles that I would write about. And it was...
Can't wait to read the book.
It was
Miracles Behind the Milk.
That's right. Oh, I like it. I like it. So we were doing it for there were going to be hundreds and hundreds of youth here in Davis County. And it was post-COVID, and there were still some concerns as far as our supply chain. I was working with a big box store that I had worked with and had a lot of history with. I had the general manager that I was working with, and she knew we had everything very, very fine-tuned. And with each of our Conquer Hungers, I am checking in with, whether it's Sam's or Costco or Walmart or whoever I'm working with on a project. I'm checking in every couple of weeks to make sure that food order is happening, is being processed. And a week and a half before this event, she called me, and she said, "I'm so sorry." She said, I put the order in 6 weeks ago. We make sure that there's plenty of turn time. And she said, "I have been watching it." And she said, "They are deleting." She said, "The higher ups," she said, "I don't know why they're doing it." She says, "They are deleting." She says, "I've reached out to them to see if there's anything we can do." She said, "It's the supply chain. It's just not happening. It's not working. And it's failing. It's failing us." And I had hundreds of youth coming. I had to find a way. I wasn't going to cancel this event. And I said, we went item by item by item. And she said, "The only item out of like 10 items that go in our pantry pack," she said, "I have fruit snacks. I have enough fruit snacks. That's all. That's the only item that they have not deleted off of this order." Mm. And I was heartbroken. I thought, I've got a week and a half. How can I possibly do this? And I said, "Do me a favor, please." I said, "Don't release those fruit snacks. I need those." She said, "Okay, I will hold those. We luckily have a little bit of space here at headquarters in our gym. And I went down and did a full inventory there. I knew what I had here. I knew I had fruit snacks. I began reaching out to several other big box stores. And between Bountiful Food Pantry, between here, look at our headquarters, between those fruit snacks, between all of these different places, I was able over the next week and a half, and that's kind of impossible turn times, right? And I remember coming to you. Do you remember what you said to me?
I don't remember. You have a great memory.
I said to you, "Trevor," I said, we're in kind of a tight spot. I said, "At this point, the only thing I've got is fruit snacks." And I said, "But we're going to be okay. We are going to be okay." And you said, "Okay, I trust you. But I said, is this like a loaves and fishes? Are we literally bringing just a few, and then we're going to kind of pray and hope that they, And I said, "No, we're going to do this. I'm going to make sure that this happens. And you just kind of trusted me, and off I went. And anyway, every single thing that I needed, the thousands of dollars of food, I was able to get. Nobody, the kids, those hundreds of kids, they didn't know, but I did. I knew the miracle that had occurred. I knew that, and because of that miracle in my own life, and having the trust and the faith in a Father in heaven, it's increased my faith, and I now watch for the miracles because I've seen it in my life again and again.
Wow. Well, we have a few more things to talk about, but we could just end the podcast on that because that's super powerful, and I think people need to pay attention to the miracles that are occurring right around them, choosing to see the miracles. And I think the more you do that, the more you're able to rely upon them and know that the hand of God he comes through for us. It's sometimes not exactly how we'd expect or want, but it happens the way it needs to and should. Yeah, I feel like this is a part of God's work that we're doing. It was His work. We're just His hands. We're instruments in His hands, and it's incredible to make that a part of our workplace that way. Our community obviously has responded really well to it. They love it. They want to be a part of it. People may be wondering if they're hearing about this for the first time, like how can they get involved? We have that question all the time. I think in the coming months we'll have some additional ways for people to get involved. But right now, like what are their options to be involved in Operation Conquer Hunger?
If you are able to, certainly we've got it's still a few months away, but we'll just open up invitations for our Hunt Expo that will be next February. That is a community-wide event that we just invite everyone to come and certainly be a part of that. Come and join, and it's just electric. Yeah. It really is awesome. That would be kind of our next big upcoming one that will be February, and that will again be at the Salt Palace. Jump on our website. We've got a page there that kind of goes through and explains Conquer Hunger, gives a lot of detail. And you'll be able to kind of keep track as to how many meals that we've donated. Mm-hmm. That is always something that's really exciting. And then of course, try one of our products. Yeah. Because every single order that comes through Mountain Ops, yep, every single one donates a meal to a child in need. And as we've talked about, sometimes we're able to donate a check, but gosh, oftentimes we are standing shoulder to shoulder. We come to the table, and by the end of an event, you've made a bunch of new friends, and you've gotten to know people in your community that otherwise you would never have had a chance to meet. And it's powerful and it's meaningful. And I hope that one of the messages that they'll take away as they've stood and served there with our team is, I hope that their eyes will be opened. I hope that they will walk away kind of a new person and be able to have eyes to see in their own communities and see other ways that they can help. This is Conquer Hunger is just one way. Yeah. And I think that with eyes to see and kind of becoming new people, that we are better able to really to make a difference. Yeah. And it's okay to start small. 100%. Because that's where we start.
Amen. That's so good. Thanks, Cheryl. I want to switch gears a little bit. We're not going to be able to get to everything. I think I just podcasted with Ryan just before this, and I told him we're going to have to do a part 2 of his story and focus on his How I Conquer. We'll probably, unless you're like, I've got to share this in my How I Conquer, I think we might have to do a podcast specific about that, because I want to take this, the remaining time, we probably have 10 or 15 minutes, an international opportunity that you've had. And not only I would say it's an Operation Conquer Hunger opportunity, right? What you guys experienced. But as I mentioned on the last podcast, we have the Mountain Ops Draw. Cheryl had never hunted. A few years back, when I went on my first hunt 10 years ago, it was to Africa. And I came home. Cheryl's husband and her son went back to that same outfitter. Then I met the Jordan family, Tolly's African Safaris. They've been over here. Cheryl's gotten to know them, this and that. That was one of the hunts that was part of the Mountain Ops Draw. In fact, it's a limited entry hunt because we have a once in a lifetime. We have a couple limited entries, and then we have general tags. similar to the hunt structure and tag system here in Utah. And Cheryl, I mean, with her tenure and such, she had quite a few points to put in on the draw at the beginning of this year. And she put a lot on Africa, and she drew the Africa tag. And it was more than just one tag, but anyways, it was an experience, right? It was more than just a hunt. It was a harvest. It was a donation. It was a conquer hunger. It was all these things. But it was all new to you.
It absolutely was. I'd never hunted before, ever. Growing up, I kind of had the messages that men and boys hunt. Girls don't hunt, right? And so I'd never hunted. I never ever had. And working here at Mountain Ops, I had seen lots and lots of hunts. I'd heard about the hunts, but I had never taken that opportunity to go and hunt myself. And when I was given the opportunity to go to South Africa, what a realization of such a blessing as the Jordan family had come and I'd gotten to know them. At one point, a couple of years ago, I had said to them as I was saying goodbye to them, I said, "Someday I'm coming.
Yeah.
Someday I'm coming to South Africa. I want to come and see your land. I want to better understand." And so, yeah, I drew that hunt. And generally, my husband or maybe one of my kids would have joined me, but we had a family vacation planned for South America, and so I was just going to go by myself, and that was great. I mean, Ryan and his son were going to go. I was not hesitant at all about going. And 10 days before we were to leave, my only sister, my only sibling, called and said, "Who's going with you?" And I said, "Just me. I'm just going. And she said, "Well, do you want me to come too?" And I said, "Sure. Of course, you can come if you want." And she said, "No, really." She said, "I'm inviting myself, but could I come?" And she too.
Lesson learned. Anyone listen, it never hurts to just ask. Hey, do you want me to come?
That's right. So she too had never hunted before, ever. And so within about 24 hours, she had her flights all booked, and we were preparing to go together. And what an experience! What an absolutely magnificent experience to be able to go and to travel to, halfway around the world, to go and to meet these people in their land, to be educated. Paul was our guide. We told him that he probably drew the short straw when it came to guides, but he said no. He was grateful to have the opportunity. I'll bet we asked him 1,000 questions.
Yeah.
We were students in a new land. We were students in hunting in South Africa, in the meat, in the hunt, in everything. We were students, and we wanted to learn. It was such a beautiful experience.
It's beautiful because you approached it that way. I would just say to anyone listening, like have intention when was the last time you did something for the first time? And then when you did it, like, don't just take it as okay, this is cool. Let's experience it and be done. Like, learn, ask the questions, be there, be present. Like, have that be the intention for whatever it is you're experiencing. So, the great lesson taught right there is like, live in the moment. It's a sacred present, right? Like,
absolutely, yes. And there was just so much. There was so much to learn. There was and Paul and the entire kind of Tolley's team, they were so open to teaching us and showing us. And when we went, there were a couple of animals that I planned. I wasn't going to every single day. That wasn't. I just wanted to go and experience it. I wanted to learn. I wanted to see what all of everybody kind of here had done several times. And so I had planned on taking a zebra.
mm-hmm.
That was one of my goals is to go and take a zebra. And the experience of driving up the canyon and being watchful and stopping and glassing and being so aware and so quiet. Phones were silenced and we were a million miles away. but there was such this beautiful closeness in the people that were there on the truck, and the trust, and Paul, knowing exactly kind of where to go and how to do it, and the communication between he and his tracker.
Mm-hmm.
It was so beautiful to. They communicated with just these tiny, a little whisper, a hand movement, a gesture, a little whistle, and he and Abe knew exactly what needed to happen as we were heading up the canyon that first morning. And there was, up on the foothills, was a herd of zebra, and the truck kept rolling. He kept it in gear, and he said to Brenda and myself, as quietly as we possibly could, and the truck is rolling, and Abe jumped in the driver's seat, and he continued driving up the canyon, so not to startle the zebra, so that they would think that the Jeep the truck had just continued driving up the canyon, and Paul dropping to his stomach right on the dirt, and we were glassing and watching and being very, very aware of the herd, and him choosing which one I would harvest. And it was beautiful. It was different. For a time, I wasn't sure that I would be able to pull the trigger. I was not sure, but getting there and seeing the land and the animals and how abundant they were, and talking to him about the herd size and how many herds, and it was really a beautiful experience. And I harvested a zebra. It was a great kill shot. I prayed that my shots would be good.
Mm-hmm.
I prayed that they would be kill shots. That was very important to me, and as I'm sure all hunters. And my zebra was down within about 10 seconds.
Oh.
And we brought it back to the lodge, and I completely skinned that zebra.
Yeah.
Me and the trackers that were there. I asked them to please teach me. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a part. I wanted to be a part of the entire process of that.
That's awesome.
But even before that, and as we hiked up to the animal, there was such an overwhelming feeling of gratitude that I asked everyone to just stop for a moment, and I asked them to please kneel around that zebra, and I offered a prayer of gratitude, and I cried. I was so grateful for an opportunity that I never expected. I was grateful for the life of that zebra. I was grateful for the people that had given me the opportunity to be there, to experience something. I was so grateful to have my sister right there and have an experience that as there's only the two of us, and to be able to have that experience with my only sister. And then several days later, she too was able to harvest a zebra. And we again knelt around her zebra, and we prayed in gratitude for the life of the zebra and for the meat that would be donated. There was nothing that was wasted.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's nothing that was wasted on any of those animals. And within the coming months, I will receive, I'm sure, that hide. And every time I look at it in my home, I will remember days that I spent in South Africa with a group of strangers that became family. They were days that I would never, ever have expected in my whole life, but such beautiful memories that were made. I went as someone who had never hunted before, and through the experiences that I was given over the course of that week, I came to appreciate the animals and understand the hunt, and understand that by putting a value on those animals, that they are able to be cared for, and that there's protection, and that and it provides for an entire community. And it was such a beautiful experience. Thank you.
Thank you. No, that's incredible. I think as people are listening to this, you could understand why Cheryl is so good at what she does in all the details, because you've just heard all these details, from the sounds that the guide and the trackers make to communicate, to the sand signals, to the laying on the belly, to the, all these moments, driving up the canyon. You pay attention to the detail, and that just demonstrates to me an attitude of gratitude, of like recognizing what's happening in your life, recognizing the good that's transpiring in your life. And that's not always common. A lot of people are just coasting through life and they're just going with the flow, and they're just, surface level, not experiencing what I think God is trying to say. Like, look all around you. And yeah, you're a million miles away and the phone's put down and you're there with your sister and all these little details I just heard. It's like, okay, she knows what's going on. She knows the blessings that surround her, and that doesn't mean that there hasn't been trial or struggle in your life, right? And we'll talk about that maybe a little more in episode 2. But I think maybe those things have caused you to gain some perspective and some reason for like, hey, let's slow down, let's recognize, let's take a moment to kneel in prayer and be grateful for this. And is there anything else from that trip that you'd want to share before I ask you one last question?
And you've kind of pointed it out, but I just wanted to cherish every moment. And I was given the opportunity to slow down a little bit and just to cherish every single moment that I was there, and really every single moment that I'm given. I don't want to be wasteful. I don't. Life goes so quickly that I want to be intentional with where I am and whom I'm with and every minute that I'm given.
Yeah, it's powerful. And this last question, it's at the end of our How I Conquer, so maybe it'll be asked again. But in the end, how will you measure your life when all is said and done and you look back at this life of a conqueror that you've lived? What maybe comes to mind?
Thank you. Certainly, as I look back, I will first look at my family. And I want them to know how much I love them and how much I treasure my children, my husband, the family that we've created. But more so than that, I want to give back. As we've talked about, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for the life that I live. And so it's not just my own family, but it's the communities and it's the families that I'm a part of. I want to give back in whatever way that means. I want to help others conquer in their goals, in their dreams, and especially for those that are struggling. I want to help those who are struggling. And if it's just a smile or a hand up in life, I want to be the one there. I want to be the first one to offer my hand.
It's powerful. A scripture that comes to mind is, inasmuch as you've done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, done it unto me. So keep that up. It's powerful. It's awesome. I think you've all heard, the little details that make the grand picture come to life, and the creation of all that come together in a beautiful, beautiful way from the small beginnings. And, we're in that room praying and we're trying to figure it out, and the continued recognizing God along the way, and him multiplying those loaves and those fishes that are his to begin with, right? We're just blessed, and you've recognized that like he's blessing us. Let's do good with that. And in the end, that's what will matter most. Maybe to just wrap this up, when we post Cheryl's podcast, maybe let's give out one of Cheryl's favorite products here at Mountain Ops, supplement products. Is there one that you'd want one or two listeners to receive?
I love our Ignite Light. I think I think the flavors of our Ignite Light are amazing. Let's see, what would be my next one? Our Ignite Light and our collagen. Oh, yeah, collagen.
So are you wanting to give 2 products away? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do.
An Ignite Light and a collagen.
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You can thank Cheryl for that, whoever wins it. But this has been incredible. I really appreciate the detail, the description, the experience that you've shared with us over the last 9.5 years. And obviously, from the Mountain Ops community, we all are appreciative of you. From me and my family, me and Jenna love and appreciate you and your family so much. Jenna appreciates you and thinks the world of you. And we, from those small beginnings and where we had this commitment to each other and to God, we needed to build a team to be able to fulfill the commitment that we wanted it to transpire to be, without knowing. Like, we didn't have a crystal ball. We didn't say, hey, in this amount of time we'll be to 10 million meals. But in no time, we'll be at a 10 million meals. I just look at that and I'm so grateful to God. I'm grateful to my wife. I'm grateful for those individuals like yourself that have come together with this common mission. And we are together with this community that's listening, providing and conquering more, And we always say, one meal, one order, one meal, one child or family or senior citizen, whoever it is, at a time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all you do.
You bet. Thank you.